4 a.m., I discovered my wife's shocking secret and incredible transformation that changed everything. Jake awoke to a flicker of sound in the stillness of the early morning, soft music drifting through the house like a haunting whisper. As the clock's hands inched toward 4 a.m., a wave of curiosity washed over him. With the weight of the world pressing on his shoulders, he needed a moment to breathe. He tiptoed down the hallway, heart pounding. Peeking through the slightly ajar door of their small home office, he was met with a sight that took his breath away. Lisa was painting, her hands alive with vibrant colors that danced across the canvas. The aroma of fresh paint filled the air, mixing with the hushed melody, wrapping around him like a warm embrace. Jake watched as Lisa lost herself in her work, her fingers smudged and her face lit up with a passion he had never seen before. The walls were alive with her creations, bold strokes and emotions unleashed, each piece telling stories of struggle, resilience, and raw beauty. His heart raced, a mix of awe and confusion swirling inside him. How had he overlooked this part of her? All these years focused on making ends meet, he never knew about the dreams painted in her heart, but amid that awe, darkness tugged at Jake's mind. Why had Lisa kept this secret? Was he too wrapped up in his own journey to see hers? Tears pricked his eyes, stinging him with a harsh realization. He had spent years feeling underappreciated at work, and now, it felt like the foundation of their family was shifting beneath him. Lisa's art quickly gained traction online, sparking conversations in their neighborhood that he couldn't have anticipated. Some hailed her brilliance while others criticized her for stepping outside the mother and wife mold. With each praise, Jake felt a mix of admiration and resentment bubbling inside him, a knot tightening in his chest. The community's changing perception left him feeling like an outsider. Neighbors whispered, casting sidelong glances his way that conveyed pity interlaced with disbelief. His pride started to fracture. Jake felt small against the backdrop of Lisa's growing recognition. Misunderstandings piled up like the bills on the counter, and the once warm-hearted exchanges turned into heated arguments, each word like shattered glass. As the tension escalated, the tipping point loomed ahead, an art exhibition showcasing Lisa's latest work, deeply personal and fiercely poignant. Jake could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on him as it grew closer. Would he stand by his wife, embrace her transformation, and support her journey? Or let his fears suffocate the love they built together? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. In that crowded gallery, with the lights flashing and voices swirling around him, Jake stood at a crossroads. Lisa's greatest piece was about to be unveiled, an expression of their shared struggles and conflicting roles. His heart raced, caught between pride and paralyzing insecurity. Hidden behind the curtain was the choice he had to make: step into the light and redefine what family meant, or falter back into the shadow of doubt. Would he find the strength to embrace this new chapter, or would the weight of past expectations crush their future? The gallery buzzed with anticipation. Jake stood stiffly at the back, his eyes glued to the crowd gathering around Lisa's artwork. He could feel the energy tingling in the air, a mixture of excitement and nervousness swirling inside him. Each murmur amplified his anxiety, and he could sense the scrutiny on him, as if everyone knew the internal struggle brewing in his heart. The lights flickered against the canvas, illuminating shades he had never fully understood. He could see the expressions on people's faces: admiration, surprise, even a hint of envy. But within him, a storm raged. Unable to focus, Jake drifted back to memories of late nights when they sat together, bathed in the warmth of their small kitchen, dreaming of futures unbound by the mundane. When had their dreams become so distant? As the crowd edged closer, a knot of fear tangled itself tighter within him. This was Lisa's moment, a beacon of her journey, yet he felt adrift in a sea of doubt, questioning everything he believed about himself and their life together. He had relied on his job for validation, punching in and out, trying to keep everything afloat while Lisa shined like a supernova. But now, with the weight of their shared past heavy on his shoulders, he felt like a forgotten comet. Suddenly, the gallery's doors swung wide open. Lisa stepped forward, a vision of grace and determination. The crowd hushed, eyes fixed on her as she approached the spotlight. Jake's breath hitched. Was this the same woman who had doubted herself, seeking reassurance in whispered promises and fleeting glances? This was someone transformed, alive with purpose and vision. He knew he should be proud, but that pride wrestled against an uncomfortable reality he felt overshadowed. "Thank you all for being here," Lisa began, her voice steady yet emotional. "This piece is a reflection of my journey. It's about love, struggles, and finding one's voice, an anthem of resilience." She spoke, breathing life into the words, and Jake felt his heart ache. Each sentence was a gentle reminder of their past, an echo of the dreams they had shared. But what about his voice? He stood frozen, the applause echoing in his mind, drowning out the questions swirling just beneath the surface. Why wasn't he standing beside her, cheering her on? Instead, he felt like an imposter in this newly painted world, wondering if he was still the man Lisa had fallen in love with. As she unveiled the centerpiece, a massive canvas painted with swirling colors that mirrored the chaos of their life, Jake's heart sank. It wasn't just art. It was a map of their struggles, their joys, and painstakingly crafted dreams. He saw their life laid bare, complicated and raw. What would the crowd think when they realized he had been the one holding her back? They erupted into applause, but it felt like a cacophony of doubts in his ears. The moment was supposed to be triumphant, yet he felt suffocated by the weight of unspoken fears and fractured trust. He wanted to take a step forward, but a voice inside him screamed to retreat. As the crowd roared with approval, he stood at the edge, battling a desire to run from this moment or leap into support. Would he confront his fears and stand beside the woman he loved, or would he allow this transformation to become a barrier between them? The question loomed heavy in the air, and Jake knew that whatever decision he made tonight would redefine everything. The sound of her laughter carried over the applause, pulling at something deep inside him. This was a turning point, a juncture that could either bind them closer together or push them apart forever. Was he ready to take the leap? All he needed was one push to make his choice, and he could feel Lisa's eyes searching for him across the crowd, bright with hope and longing. But as he hesitated, the gallery doors opened once more, and in walked a figure from his past, a reminder of everything he had tried to leave behind, and within him, an unfamiliar dread began to rise. The figure stepped into the gallery, a shadow from a chapter of Jake's life he'd rather forget. There stood Tom, an old friend, but more than that, a whisper of doubt and regret. The crowd didn't notice him, not yet, but Jake's pulse quickened, and his breath caught in his throat. Tom's presence felt like a jolt to the system, an unwelcome reminder of old insecurities and unfinished business. Lisa was still speaking, wrapped up in the moment, her words washing over the audience like warm sunlight. But as Jake's eyes locked onto Tom, he felt the warmth drain away. What was he doing here? The gallery spun, colors and shapes oscillating as dread clawed at his gut. This was not how he pictured this night. The air felt heavy and charged. "Who would have thought you'd end up here?" Tom called out, his voice cutting through the clapping hands and grinning faces. A few heads turned, curious glances moving from Jake to Tom and back again. Jake's heart pounded, each beat a drum urging him to defend his space, his world. Lisa turned at the sound of Tom's voice, her expression shifting from joy to confusion. "Jake?" she called, her gaze flitting between them. The entire gallery seemed to hold its breath, the collective tension palpable. Jake wanted nothing more than to step into the spotlight beside Lisa, to share in her glory, but Tom's unexpected entrance felt like a floodlight illuminating the dark corners of his mind. "Good to see you, Lisa," Tom said, his tone too casual. There was an underlying current in the way he looked at Jake, as if he knew something that could shake the ground beneath them. "You've really outdone yourself tonight, presenting all of this." Jake clenched his fists, anger bubbling just below the surface. Who was Tom to barge in, pulling the strings of his dilemma? Still, he found no words to fire back. The crowd buzzed with excitement, as if they were caught in a beautifully orchestrated spectacle, unknowingly standing on a precarious cliff. Lisa took a step forward, her confidence barely wavering, but Jake could see the flicker of confusion in her eyes. "Thank you. I really appreciate the support," she responded, forcing a smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. The way her gaze darted from him to Tom only brought unbearable tension to Jake's heart. What was she thinking? Did she sense the rivalry igniting? Tom sauntered closer, leaning casually against the wall as if he belonged there, casually highlighting the contrast with Jake's stiff demeanor. "So, Jake, still working that job? The one you always said was so fulfilling." Each word dripped with a challenge, taunting him. The laughter that erupted from the crowd felt distant, hushed in comparison to the roaring thoughts in Jake's head. How could he ever compete with the ghosts of his past? With a man who seemed to roam the shadowy alleys of his memories? He clenched his jaw, fighting the urge to step back and fade into the background, but the weight of the moment pressed heavily on him. "Tom," Jake finally managed. His voice felt thick and heavy, as if it were a boulder lodged in his throat. "This isn't the time or place." But Tom smirked, the glint in his eye suggesting he felt the opposite. "Oh, but it is, my friend. It's exactly the moment for the truth to come out, don't you think?" Around him, the crowd diverted their attention, gossiping softly, eyes darting between the three of them. Jake could feel the scrutiny. What truth? His heart raced faster now, the stakes soaring. As the tension built, Lisa's hand reached for his, grounding him amidst the chaos. Those small fingers held so much promise, connecting them in a way only they could understand. But as Tom's gaze lingered, Jake realized that something had to give. This was no longer just about the gallery, or about Lisa's art, it was about his own battle, his very identity in question. He needed to confront this storm brewing inside him. But how far would he have to go to reclaim not just his place beside Lisa, but his place in his own life? The night wasn't over, and shadows loomed large. He took a breath, preparing for the ramifications that lay ahead, driven anew by the need to reclaim himself. What would the ricochet of truth feel like once it hit? Jake's mind reeled, and the room seemed to bend beneath the weight of Tom's words. The air throbbed with uncertainty. He couldn't let this moment unravel him, not when Lisa was here, sparkling in her element, creating magic on the canvas of the gallery. "Tom," he said, forcing the tension down into his gut. "Let us talk later." The way he thrust his palm toward the side to dismiss Tom felt inadequate, an act of bravery that teetered on the edge of fear. "Oh, but that's just it, Jake. Will there even be a later for you?" Tom retorted, an edge of triumph gnawing at his lips. The audience buzzed with intrigue, their whispers whipping around them like the warm summer air outside. "Why don't you leave?" Jake demanded, deciding to peel back the layers of anger. Was this really happening? Did Tom think he could just stroll back into Jake's life and make everything messy again? He had fought too hard to keep those shadows at bay. Before Tom could respond, Lisa tightened her grip on Jake's hand. Her presence was like a buoy to his drowning spirit. She stood before Tom, unwavering. "What do you mean by that?" she asked, her voice steady as steel. The crowd hushed, their attention shifting firmly to her. Tom shrugged, playing humble, but the gleam of his eyes betrayed him. "I just think Jake's been too comfortable in his little bubble. It wouldn't hurt to shake things up a bit, right?" His words felt like daggers, aimed directly at Jake's core. "Shake things up?" Lisa scoffed, disbelief etched on her face. "You think that's what he needs? A blast from the past?" She stepped forward, placing herself between Tom and Jake. Jake's heart thudded as admiration for her strength settled in. This was the woman he admired, fierce and unyielding. "No, I think he needs to confront his truths, whatever they might be," Tom replied, his tone teasing as if he was enjoying every second of this. "What truths?" Jake's voice increased in volume, echoing around the gallery as if every word bounced back at him tenfold. "What do you think you know? The crowd sensed the tension, eyes wide. Conversations faded to whispers, breaths held as the three of them stood at a precipice. Tom's smirk broke slightly. "Oh, I couldn't possibly spoil the surprise. But let's just say, some decisions come with consequences." Staring into Tom's eyes, Jake felt his own pulse skip. Memories from their past crashed over him like an unrelenting wave. He wouldn't let his past dictate the present. He couldn't. Not when Lisa was creating her future right beside him. "Listen, Tom," Jake said slowly, deliberate. "You think you can walk in here and wreck everything? Think again. I'm not the same guy you remember." "Prove it," Tom challenged, an eyebrow raised, inviting chaos. The crowd buzzed with energy, caught between two battle-ready friends. In that moment, Jake felt infused with something he didn't expect, a fire igniting within. "You want the truth? Fine. Let's talk about it then. But not here." Lisa squeezed his hand tighter, grounding him, as he pointed toward the exit. The gallery door swung slightly as if inviting him into the unknown. Did he really want to open this door, to face the shadows of his past? "Let's take this outside," he said, his voice low and steady. Tom's smile widened. "Oh, I didn't think you'd ask." With the gallery buzzing around them, Jake felt the weight of the night shift. This was no longer just a confrontation, it became a crossroads. He was ready to meet the truth head-on, to reclaim his narrative, his life, and maybe even his relationship with Lisa. As they moved towards the door, the crowd parted like waves. The chill of the night air hit Jake's skin, awakening a different kind of tension, the kind filled with potential. Would he be broken by his past, or would he emerge transformed? Tom paused outside under the night sky, the street lamps casting shadows that danced darkly around them. "Are you ready for this?" he taunted, a grin still plastered on his face. Jake inhaled deeply. More than ever. What awaited them in that confrontation? Would Jake finally uncover the hidden truths that had haunted him for so long? The night air buzzed with an electric tension that Jake could feel wrap around him like fog. He stepped outside, the world of art and laughter fading behind him. The streetlights flickered, creating a strobe-like effect that mirrored the inner chaos swirling within him. He was on a precipice, teetering between the past he thought he had buried and the future he hoped to build with Lisa. Tom leaned casually against a street lamp, arms crossed, a mix of arrogance and anticipation dancing in his eyes. "So, what's it going to be, Jake? Reliving old mistakes? Or are you ready to make new ones?" Jake clenched his fists, frustration bubbling just under the surface. "This isn't about what I used to be. It's about who I am now. And you don't get to drag me back into that." The word surprised him, fueling a fire he thought had dimmed long ago. Lisa stepped beside him, her voice cutting through the tension with a clarity that surprised even her. "He deserves to have this conversation, Tom. But on his terms, not yours." The strength in her tone made Jake's heart swell. She stood with him, a partner in facing whatever was coming their way. Tom laughed, although it lacked genuine mirth. "Ah, the righteous protector. Delighted to see you two are still in your cloud of ignorance. But there are things you don't know." He leaned in closer, the darkness in his tone tangible. "I know about the papers, Jake. The ones you think no one saw." Jake's stomach nodded, realization hitting hard. With those words, every wall he had carefully constructed in his mind threatened to crumble. The papers. They were a ghost from a life he had wanted to forget, documents that he thought were buried deep in the chaos of his past. "What papers?" Lisa asked, confusion marring her beautiful features. Jake shot her a brief look, wishing he could shield her from this storm about to unleash. "Hypothetical divorce papers." Tom's voice dripped with irony. "You know, just a little something to keep your options open while you played house with Lisa." Jake felt the breath leave his body. He shot a quick glance at Lisa. He could see the hurt flicker in her eyes, as if she felt the crushing weight of betrayal even without knowing the full story. "This isn't true, Lisa." I swear, he said, his voice strained. But it isn't it, Jake. Tom pushed, clearly reveling in Jake's discomfort. You've carried that burden around like a badge of honor, pretending you're rebuilt from the ground up. But you're still just the same man who ran away. As the words sliced through him, Jake drew a deep breath. The cold air stung his lungs, but the clarity that followed was almost empowering. I walked away from everything that was toxic. I'm here now, Lisa. With you. I want us to have a future. Then why didn't you tell me? Lisa's voice trembled, a mixture of anger and hurt. Why keep secrets? Jake felt the wall close in, his heart racing. The truth throbbed within him, raw and unsteady. He had hidden parts of his past, scared that they would push her away. But now, with everything teetering on this edge, Jake realized that truth was the bedrock he needed to build on. I didn't want to drag you into that darkness. I didn't want you to be a part of my mistakes. Lisa searched his face, like she was trying to weigh his sincerity against the shadows Tom had cast. Maybe I've been a coward, Jake added, voice softening. But I'm ready to face it all now. Together. Tom scoffed. Together? You think you can just erase the past with a few nice words? Maybe not erase, but confront. Face the truth and maybe even transform it, Jake said, feeling the stakes rise. There was power in vulnerability, power he didn't want to lose. Jake, Lisa whispered, a flicker of hope igniting in her eyes. I need to know everything. As she spoke, Jake felt the ground shift beneath him. This confrontation was leading them somewhere neither had expected. Would it expose the cracks in their relationship or strengthen them beyond measure? Tom stood there, grinning smugly, but behind the bravado, there was something else: fear. The night had grown darker. But Jake felt a flicker of light breaking through. You want the truth? Let us strip away the lies, Tom. Show me what you've got. Tom's expression shifted from smugness to something darker. You're playing a dangerous game, Jake. Just remember, some secrets are best left buried. What was Tom hiding? And would Jake survive the unearthing of everything that had been concealed for so long? The air hung thick with tension, wrapping around them like a vice. Jake shifted, the cold ground pressing against his feet, but it was the weight of his past standing heavier on his shoulders. Tom's eyes glinted as he savored the moment, and Jake could feel a storm brewing within him. I always knew you'd come back to this, Jake, Tom said, his tone mocking. You think you can just forget? Just like everything else you've run from? No, Jake snapped, frustration spilling over. I've grown up, Tom. I've learned that facing my mistakes is the only way to move forward. Lisa took a small step closer, her warmth a grounding force in the chaos. What do you really know, Tom? What are you trying to hide? She looked between them, her expression a mix of determination and uncertainty. Tom chuckled softly. You really want to do this? Fine. Let us talk about those papers, shall we? Jake's heart raced at the thought of the papers. He had always known they could come back to haunt him, but he never expected this confrontation to whip them to the surface. You have no proof. Nothing more than a cheap shot. Is that really what you believe? Tom retorted, stepping into Jake's space. I've seen them, Jake. I wouldn't lie about something like that. You still have a foot in both worlds. Living with Lisa while keeping your options open on the other side. Doesn't he sound like a man who has moved on to me? Words failed Jake for a moment. How could Tom twist the truth like this? The shame nagged at him, threatening to unravel all that he had fought to build with Lisa. Jake, please, Lisa whispered, her eyes pleading. I need to understand. If there is more to this, I don't want to stand in your shadow. No. Jake exclaimed, desperation evident in his voice. You're not in my shadow. You're the reason I'm here, pushing me to be better. But even as he spoke, doubt crept in. He couldn't let Lisa carry the burden of his past. Not now. Not ever. Tom shifted, sensing the cracks forming. Oh, this is rich. Look at you, trying to protect her from the truth. But that's the real tragedy, isn't it? You're still the same coward, always running, always hiding. With that last jab, something inside Jake snapped. What Tom claimed was cowardice felt more like survival. He felt the darkness of the past bearing down again, but this time he refused to let it sink him. Stop. Just stop. I've faced enough of my demons to know that I can't keep pushing people away just to shield them from me. I can't keep pretending. The words hung in the air between them, charged with emotion. Lisa stepped closer, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. Jake, just tell me the truth. I deserve that. He took a deep breath, each inhale heavy with dread and resolve. Okay, you want it? I was scared. Scared I'd lose you. Scared of everything that happened before, Jake admitted, the vulnerability washing over him like a cool wave. But the truth about those papers? They were a mistake. I thought I could keep her from dragging me back into those old nightmares, but I see now. She reached out, her fingers brushing against his arm, grounding him. You don't have to carry this on your own anymore. I want to know everything. Jake felt as if the world was hanging on that thread. Could he really share it all? The shadowy past, the pain, the choices he had made. There was so much to unravel, so much fear of what the unveiling would create. Yet, the flicker of hope in Lisa's eyes urged him on. Tom watched closely, curiosity darkening his expression. This is going to be a turning point for you, isn't it? Or maybe just another epic fail. Jake could feel the ground beneath him shifting, the stakes rising higher with every heartbeat. Would revealing everything truly mend the fissures in their relationship or expose a chasm too wide to bridge? I'm ready to share it all, Jake said, determination fueling his words. But it comes with the truth I think you're afraid of, Tom. Because I'm done letting you control my narrative. A nervous silence settled over them, buzzing with potential and unknown consequences. What would the truth reveal? What would it cost them all? As Tom's smirk faded, replaced by an uncertain frown, Jake prepared to dive deep into the darkness of his past. He needed to face every shadow that lurked there, for himself and for Lisa. And in that moment, he realized they were all standing on the edge of something monumental. What was about to be uncovered could change everything or tear them apart entirely. Let's do this, Jake whispered, heart pounding. What would that truth hold in store? Jake took a deep breath, feeling the weight of his confession pressing down on him like an anvil. His heart raced as he looked into Lisa's eyes, searching for reassurance. It's about the papers, he began, but the words felt like stones lodged in his throat. Just say it, Jake, Lisa urged, her voice resolute. I'm ready to hear whatever it is you've been hiding. He clenched his fists, fighting the urge to pull away from the truth he had avoided for too long. When I got those papers, I was in a bad place. After everything I thought I could control what happened by keeping one foot tucked away in the past. I thought if I guarded it carefully, it wouldn't affect my life with you. But it always did. Tom leaned against a tree, a sick grin plastered on his face. You're unraveling right before my eyes. I knew you wouldn't be able to handle this. You're not as strong as you pretend to be. Shut up, Tom, Lisa snapped, her protective nature blossoming. She turned back to Jake. You're stronger than you think, Jake. Just keep talking. Feeling inspired by her support, he pressed on. The papers were my escape plan, my link to a past I thought I could harness. Only, they don't just hold my story. They connect to people I've hurt. Jake paused, the shadows of his past creeping in again. There's a woman named Clara. She was involved in my life back then. We had a mess together, families torn apart, trust broken. I should have come clean about it, but I feared you'd see me differently. I didn't want to lose you. The silence that followed felt, impossibly, like an abyss opening up. He prepared for the worst, expecting Lisa to pull away. Instead, she stepped closer. "You're really saying you were involved with someone else? Is that why you were distant?" "It was stupid, I know. I thought I could bury it, but it never worked. I kept the papers to remind me of the damage I caused. They were a way to stay vigilant, to not repeat my mistakes. I thought if I kept them hidden, I wouldn't have to face that part of me again." "And that means you never trusted me, did you?" Lisa's voice trembled. The hurt was evident. "No. That's not it. I didn't want to drag you down with me." I thought he choked on his words, the realization hitting hard. "I thought I was protecting you, but it ended up isolating me more. I'm so tired of running." Her eyes softened. "Jake, if you want to move forward, you have to let all of that go. Trust me, your past doesn't have to define our future." Tom scoffed, "And yet, here we are. You've got collateral damage everywhere, Jake. You're one breath away from losing everything." Jake turned toward Tom, rage bubbling up. "No one asked for your opinion. This isn't about you anymore." He shifted his focus back to Lisa, desperation creeping in. "I can't keep carrying this weight. I need your help to let go. You're my light, Lisa." At that moment, Jake sensed a shift in the atmosphere. The air around them buzzed with tension and possible resolution. Tom's smirk was faltering, morphing into something almost unreadable. Could this moment truly change the course for them? "Maybe," Lisa said slowly, "it's time we create new documents, our story instead of one tied to your past. Together." Jake felt hope blooming. The idea of rebuilding felt terrifying yet exhilarating. "You're willing to do that? To start fresh together?" "Only if you promise not to hide things from me again," she replied with a slight smile that eased the tension etched across her face. "Deal," he said. The warmth in his heart surged, battling the old fears that had kept him shackled, but Tom interjected, his tone icy. "This isn't over, Jake. There's still more to uncover, secrets buried deeper than you think." The shadows closed in again, darker and thicker. Jake shivered, the realization of Tom's words hitting him hard. Just when he thought he could finally leave his past behind, Tom was still looming in the background, ready to strike. As Lisa watched him, her expression a mixture of concern and determination, Jake was left wondering just how much more of the past was waiting to be unearthed. What else would they have to confront together? The journey was just beginning, and he could feel the ground shaking beneath their feet. "Let us face those secrets together," Jake whispered, his heart heavy yet resolute. Would love be enough to shield them both from the impending storms? The sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the field where Jake and Lisa stood. He felt the chill of the evening air wrap around him, but it wasn't just the temperature, it was the icy grip of Tom's ominous warning that tightened around Jake's chest. "Jake," Lisa's voice broke the silence, steady and calm. "What do you think he meant by those secrets? Do you have anything else to tell me?" Her eyes searched his, probing deeper than anyone had ever dared. It was both comforting and terrifying. Jake opened his mouth, but the words wouldn't come. The fear of unearthing more pain threatened to choke him. "I don't know," he finally admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. I think there are things I haven't even realized myself. Things I buried too deep." Lisa stepped closer, her warmth a soothing balm against his growing anxiety. "Then we need to figure it out together. You can't face this alone." He nodded, trying to find strength in her unwavering support. "Okay. I'll try." But he could feel the weight of Tom's parameters pressing against them, felt Tom's malevolent satisfaction lurking just beyond their idyllic moment. Before he could gather his thoughts, Lisa took a deep breath. "What if we start with Clara? If she is a part of your past, then we should confront her together. Maybe it's time we understood what really happened." The mention of Clara sent jolts of guilt racing through him. I don't know if that's a good idea. It could just complicate things. It already is complicated, Jake. Hiding from her won't set you free, or us. You said she's connected to your mistakes, right? If we face those mistakes, it might be the only way to break this cycle. Her logic was sound, but fear wormed its way into his thoughts. And if I see her again? I could fall back into those old patterns. I'd feel uneasy. Then that's even more reason to confront her, Lisa insisted, determination shining behind her eyes. We'll do it together. You'll be reminded of what you don't want to be, and I'll be there to help you through it. The thought of revisiting his past terrified him, yet Lisa's conviction gave him courage. Maybe it was time to cut the ties that still bound him to that chapter of his life. What do you suggest? Let us arrange a meeting. Just you, me, and Clara. It's time to clear the air, whatever that means. A lump formed in Jake's throat. You really want to do this? I do. If you're serious about starting fresh, we need to take these steps. No more secrets. With reluctance, he nodded in agreement, feeling a mixture of hope and dread swirling within him. Okay, let us do it. As they turned to leave the field, a sudden gust of wind swept by, carrying the faintest sound of laughter in the distance. The shadows closed in behind them, and Jake felt the shiver run down his spine. Do you hear that? He asked, glancing back at the trees. What? Lisa asked, squinting into the darkness. Laughter, or maybe I'm just imagining it. Maybe it's a good sign, she suggested, but uncertainty colored her tone. His heart pounded. How much laughter would echo back from the past? Would Clara's presence destroy the fragile hope they were building, or would it set them free? As they stepped out of the field, Jake couldn't shake the feeling that every step forward came with potential landmines buried beneath. They both knew they couldn't avoid the past any longer, but did they have the strength to face it together? With unresolved questions swirling in his mind, Jake took Lisa's hand, gripping it tightly. They walked toward an uncertain future, the shadows of tomorrow's tugging at their heels. Where would this path take them? And what awaited them in the dark corners of his past? They stood at the edge of the field, the last remnants of sunlight fading into darkness. Jake's heart drummed in his chest, heavy with the weight of what lay ahead. The laughter that had momentarily flickered through the air lingered in his mind, a haunting melody of memories. Jake, are you ready? Lisa's voice broke through his thoughts, sound like a gentle nudge. Not at all. He chuckled nervously, hiding the tremor in his hands. But I guess that's not really an option, is it? She smiled softly, her eyes reflecting a fierce resolve. Remember, we're in this together. With each step, we're getting closer to the truth. As they made their way to the cafe where they agreed to meet Clara, the streetlights flickered to life, casting cones of warmth that felt almost protective against the encroaching night. Yet uncertainty pooled in Jake's stomach. What would Clara say? What would he say? Maybe we should have come up with a plan, Jake murmured, glancing sideways at Lisa. We'll figure it out. Just let it flow, she encouraged, squeezing his hand. No more hiding. Minutes stretched in silence, each tick of the clock amplifying the tension in the air. When they finally reached the cafe, an old brick corner building with inviting golden windows, Jake's breath hitched. Do you think she'll be mad? He asked nervously. She deserves to hear the truth, Jake, Lisa replied, her voice steady despite the weight of her words. And so do you. Taking a deep breath, he pushed open the door, and the smell of coffee and baked goods washed over him. The cafe was cozy, yet very much alive with the murmur of conversation. Before he could take it all in, Jake caught sight of her Clara, sitting alone in a booth in the far corner. She was laughing, her eyes bright and carefree, as if he hadn't been a part of her life once. Here goes nothing, he whispered, feeling a surge of adrenaline. As they approached, Clara's laughter faded, replaced by a look of confusion and surprise. Jake. Lisa. Hey, Clara. Jake's voice came out hoarse, each word laced with the gravity of their past. Can we talk? Sure. She eyed them warily, the smile faltering. Is everything okay? Actually, no, Lisa interjected, stepping forward, her assertiveness breaking the tension. We're here because we need to figure out some things together. Clara's expression shifted to concern, her brow furrowing. What do you mean? Jake swallowed hard, the flood of regrets crashing over him. This was at the moment that could lead toward healing or possibly hurt them all over again. I need to explain myself. About everything. As the first words formed on his lips, he felt Lisa's supportive presence beside him. But as Clara's gaze intensified, Jake sensed her discomfort, her mind racing through old memories. For a moment, silence swallowed them, heavy and raw. Jake could almost feel the past pressing in around him, like fingers tightening around his throat. But that lingering laugh from earlier spurred him on. I want to make things right. But first, I need honesty from all of us. Clara's eyes softened, yet uncertainty still clouded them. Jake could see the flickering of hope beneath her wariness. Okay, she said finally, her voice steadying. Let us talk. Relief washed over Jake, but the shadows of the past loomed ever closer. As they settled into the booth, he couldn't shake the feeling that this meeting would either fracture or fortify everything they had built. What truths lay hidden beneath the surface? And would they finally uncover what they had all buried so deep? As Jake settled into the booth across from Clara, he felt a rush of anxiety and regret wash over him. The weight of unspoken words hung heavy in the air, as Clara's eyes searched his face, trying to find the boy she once knew. Why now, Jake? Clara asked, her voice steady yet tinged with confusion. Why bring this up after all this time? Jake took a deep breath, glancing at Lisa beside him. He could see the unwavering support in her eyes, urging him to push through the discomfort. Because I can't move forward without confronting my past, he said, the sincerity in his tone rising. It's been gnawing at me for years, and the truth is, I need to clear the air to rebuild everything I hope to have with Lisa. Clara's expression softened, layers of hurt swirling beneath the surface. I tried to reach out before. Where were you? He felt the shadows of their past press against him, like a fog threatening to engulf them all. I was a coward, he admitted, the shame clawing at his heart. I thought I could bury the mistakes, keep them from interfering with my future. Only I didn't realize how much I was dragging along with me. Clara nodded slowly, the hurt beginning to transform into understanding. So you thought if you hid it all, it wouldn't affect your life with Lisa? It wasn't a question but a realization one Jake felt keenly. Exactly, he replied, feeling the tension crackle like static electricity. But I see now how unfair that was to both of you. Lisa deserves the truth, even when it's ugly. I didn't want to lose her because of my mistakes, but I see that keeping it a secret only drove a wedge between us. Lisa squeezed his hand, a silent affirmation that she was with him. It felt like a lifeline amidst the storm. He turned back to Clara, noting the flicker of empathy in her eyes. I wanted you to know I never meant to hurt you. I was caught in a whirlwind, scared of the path I'd chosen. Clara's gaze intensified, seeking something in his eyes. What did you want from me, Jake? Was it just to say you're sorry? Her words were steady, but Jake could feel the weight of their shared history building between them. I wanted to bring closure not just for you, but for me. I can't keep living like this. I brought those papers with me as a reminder of where I came from, but more than that, they represent the choice to keep running. I don't want to run anymore. The vulnerability in his voice hung like a thread, fragile yet potent. The cafe around them continued to thrum with life, people laughing and enjoying their coffee, but in this moment, the essence of their small world felt magnified. As he laid bare his struggles, Clara's demeanor began to shift towards understanding. I never wanted to be a shadow in your life, Jake. I wish you'd let me in sooner. We could ve figured it out together instead of just drifting apart. A lump formed in Jake's throat, and he nodded, tears pricking his eyes as he faced the reality he had long avoided. I know, and I'm still learning that vulnerability is a strength, not a weakness. He could feel Lisa's presence, radiant and grounded, fortifying him to move deeper into the conversation. We're all here to find our truths and ways to heal, she chimed in, her warmth bringing much-needed comfort. Jake, all I want is for you to be your authentic self with me. Together, we can take on any shadows from the past. Suddenly, the atmosphere shifted, a bond forming in the cozy booth. Clara's expression softened as she found the truth within his words. Then let us not dwell on the past but rather learn from it. She smiled, and it felt like the sun breaking through clouds after a storm, warm and illuminating. Jake caught a glimpse of the boy he once was, standing beside the man he had become. That's all I ever wanted. A chance to be better, to truly embrace the life I want to build with Lisa. With vulnerability lifting the heavy shadows that had held them in place for so long, Clara gave him a nod of understanding. There's no need to hold on to those papers anymore. If this is truly about growth and healing, then let us write a new chapter where we aren't defined by our mistakes. Tears of gratitude brimmed in his eyes. Thank you, Clara. I'll take this step today, and I promise not to hide anymore. Let us do what's best for us moving forward. They shared a moment of silence, understanding passed between them like a gentle wave. The tension dissipated, replaced by the flickers of hope and understanding that they could start anew. Jake felt a rush of relief, and with that, he knew they would emerge from this stronger together. The sun had fully set outside as they walked out of the cafe, each step lighter than the last. Jake held Lisa's hand tightly, feeling a renewed sense of purpose and strength. They were ready to face whatever the future held, riding on the wings of truth and bound by love. He turned to Lisa, gratitude flooding his voice. Thank you for standing beside me throughout this, for believing in me. Together, I know we can overcome anything. She beamed back, her smile radiant under the streetlights. Always, Jake. Now let us keep moving forward. And as they walked toward their future, Jake felt the shadows of the past fading away, leaving room for the light of a new beginning. He finally understood that the transformation they each needed was possible, and love, the real, authentic kind, thrived in the honesty they were finally embracing. Now it was time to step into their new life. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Your support means everything.